Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. A family of entitled guests caused distress and abused the staff. The travel agency was contacted to relocate them. The second story. I asks for a raise after receiving a job offer with a higher salary. Their CEO agrees but gives them a failing review after 3 months, demotes me and takes the raise away, so I quits. The third story. Kevin, a new service drive attendant at a dealership, caused chaos, ultimately getting fired. The first story is excessively rude family. So I had the misfortune of dealing with an overly entitled trio at my job. The resort I'm working at is an independent establishment in Southeast Asia with lovely supportive managers and coworkers. As with all independent hotels, we got hit pretty hard by the pandemic and 2 years of lockdown, so we've been eager to restart the business and begin recovering. Since our place is rather short-staffed, I'm working in both online reservation and front desk. Yesterday, we welcomed one particular family that caused so much distress for everyone working here. At check-in, they brought in a mountain of luggage, boasting to us that they've been traveling around the world. Okay, that's so nice. I hope they were understanding as seasoned travelers. We brought them to our 3-bedroom family condominium on the top floor with direct view to the ocean, and it took 4 of us to bring their luggages up. 30 minutes later, they started complaining, since the other receptionists were new. I didn't want them to get stressed out by the guests, so I went up to the room alone. I was greeted by the grandmother of the group. I'm calling her G now. G started berating me to move the coffee table in the room out of her sight so her grandchild wouldn't get hit in the head while running in the room. Okay, reasonable, we can do that. Then G moved on to the outdoor balcony facing the ocean and asked why there's dirt there. Well, it's outdoor where there's wind and sand. I can't work miracles. After that, she demanded that all our staffs clean up the resort's garden so that she can enjoy the view. G's the only one hating on our landscaping since reopening. At this point, I was rather woozy from her rapid-fire nagging, and she started demanding that the hotel provide groceries, dishwares, free laundry for her family, which were nowhere mentioned in room amenities listed online. Returning to the front desk, my coworkers were concerned when I looked distraught, but I told it's fine, and I would sort it out with their travel agency. G came down, with their grandson. Oh dear. Knowing how terrified they were, I told my coworkers to stay put while I followed G to our swimming pools. Her grandson rushed to our pool and he loved it. Great kid and great swimmer too for 3 years old. Not so much for his grandma. G started screaming for us to bring her towels. While the kid's happily enjoying the pool, G's hurling abusive and swears at me, the usual threats for refund, etc. The other members of her family were visibly uncomfortable by her behaviors, but ultimately caved in and joined her in hurling abuses at us. Not 2 hours after checking these people in, I was already fuming and deciding to just ask the travel agency to relocate them to not traumatize the staffs, as we hadn't charged the agency's account. Too late, G's family already started rampaging in the restaurant. After eating 3 to 4 dishes, they insulted our chefs and refused to pay for the bills, citing their unsatisfactory with the cooking and calling it disgusting. They ate everything. Yes, that's it. These people had to go. Despite their reservation being non-refundable, I wasn't willing to let them abuse us any further. I had to beg the travel agency to relocate these people as soon as possible. During the process, G's son called me, reservation, through my coworker's cell phone, not knowing I was also the receptionist receiving their abuses. Thankfully, I was in the office at that point. He started listing a bunch of grocery items while demanding us to fetch the bills, along with giving their whole family 3 free meals daily. Nope. He ended the call by slamming my coworker's phone on the desk. Needless to say, the owner of the phone was baffled. After begging with the travel agency, I agreed to waive 50% of their first night to cover the mental trauma they inflicted upon the staffs. I was praying to multiple forces to get these people out of the hotel ASAP. The only silver lining of the day was that we had a wonderful surprise birthday party for another staying families with lots of laughs and videos. I snuck in a wish during their birthday for more lovely people like them instead of G's family. P.S. As I'm not a native English speaker, I'm sorry if my post wasn't interesting or better worded. I'm still upset over the whole ordeal, but better me than my coworkers getting abused at work. Update. 4 hours before checkout and they still refuse to pay for the restaurant bills. I'm convincing the manager that the room charges should cover it, but she's very angry after hearing the staffs got abused. Talking her down so that she wouldn't call the cops on them, upsetting the poor kids. Update 2. The travel agent of the family was horrified after knowing about how they treated us and relocated them far outside the city. Everyone at the front desk was cheering as G and her family were leaving the resort. She vowed to write a 1-star review and tell all her Facebook friends. Update 3. They informed us that they had a parcel delivered to the resort and demanded we rerouted them to their new place. That and they left their kids' medicine in the room and want us to deliver those too. Great parents. I guess G was too busy thinking my poor grandson. She forgot about them. I have to say, I'm impressed by your patience and composure in dealing with their excessive rudeness. I don't think I would have been able to resist the urge to throw their luggage out the window. But seriously, it's unfortunate that some people feel entitled to treat others poorly, especially when those others are just trying to do their job and provide good service. It's great to hear that you were able to get them relocated and avoid further abuse to you and your coworkers. I hope the rest of your guests are more pleasant and appreciative of your hard work. And who knows, maybe you'll even get a few more surprise birthday parties to balance out the stress of dealing with difficult guests. The second story is a cautionary tale about counteroffers. From 5 figures to 6 figures back down to 5 figures. A few years back, prior to me starting work as an independent contractor, I'm a software developer. I had began to notice I was doing pretty well at work. I was working harder and more efficiently than both our head of projects and our CTO. Even though they were both on the executive team, I was outshining them left and right. But we had always been in conflict. I was yelled at by them semi-regularly for apparent delivery or communication gaps that just didn't make sense to me. Clients were happy with me. Coworkers enjoyed working with me. However, we were losing 3 employees a year because of them. Due to their constant complaints, I was full of self-doubt, but I was certain contracting on the side was at least worth a try. Perhaps I could learn from other organizations and how they do things, or get my own thoughts or those of my managers validated. I applied to a few places and let them know my situation, and a couple companies were willing to offer me very small gigs, 10 to 20 hours weekly. Even while maintaining the pressure of my full-time job, I passed their interview test with stellar scores, and I went above and beyond their expectations of me as a developer. One client asked what it would take to get me on full-time. I threw out a number which was a full $35K above what I was making at my full-time job, based on some napkin math I did based on contracting rates. They didn't even shrug. I couldn't believe it. Not wanting to burn bridges, however, I went back to my employer and told them I'd be willing to stay if they could match the $35K raise. I realized that was a lot to ask them. I got a lot of pushback. They were not happy with me one bit. We circled around the block for a while and the conversation was tense. Finally, they asked, "What makes you think you deserve such a big salary? Do you realize what you do and the things we need to improve on?" And I responded, "I understand your position, but the reason we're having this discussion is that I've been offered that from another employer. While I enjoy my work here, I'll be putting in a 2 weeks notice if my offer cannot be matched." That seemed to stop them in their tracks. Starting next paycheck, I received my fair competitive compensation. I improved my performance, even staying late or sleeping at the office when there were pressing deadlines or late-night releases that needed to be done. The only exchange was that I would receive a 3-month review to track my performance at the increased pay rate. Then came my review. After 3 months, I received my review. Nothing had really changed. I had put in a lot more effort than before. Not that I should have needed to, but I knew I was asking a lot, and I was happy to act in good faith. Too bad they weren't. I received my graded review and my grade was an F. Not a B, C, D, or whatever else. An F. A flat-out F. Like complete and total failure. Me handling late-night deployments and spending the night, even though we had COTS for this very purpose, was actually listed in the negatives. You'd think a failure would mean I would be fired, right? I mean, how could an employee possibly be outright failing and not know until their review? And why wouldn't that lead to their dismissal? Well, apparently I was doing so poorly that I was removed from my position, but still good enough to be in my previous role. My $35K raise was immediately taken from me and I was demoted. I get this feeling what really happened is they all thought I was bluffing, because when I brought up how little sense this all made and how infuriated I was, all they said was basically, "Okay," and that was that. There was no further action on their part, but there was on mine. I had decided that contracting was actually pretty fun. I got exposure to multiple clients and was praised consistently for my work. I love the fast pace, the high expectations, and the competitive pay. I began doing more of that on the side again. Then once I had sustained enough on the side to pay my bills, I quit. I just quit. I went up to the CEO who had originally hired me way back and I quit. I went into the manager's office and I told him I was quitting. I was asked why repeatedly as though it wasn't already obvious. I was still seething, but the negative feelings eventually passed. I found myself delighted to be a contractor and added my now former employer as one of my clients. After a few months of reporting directly to the CEO for my contracting work, it became clear how effective I was in all aspects: planning and management, technical communication, delivery, accountability, and that the managers were not. Both of them must have seen what was coming, as they both resigned within months of me coming back on as a contractor and essentially taking over all of their work. I did independent contracting for nearly 2 years, making more money than I knew what to do with. Eventually, though, the CEO from the original company hired me back on full-time, matching my previous salary with him and actually exceeding my contracting rates in total compensation. With the money he saved by getting rid of 2 dead weights, I now get paid what I originally aimed for at the full-time gig I call my home, while continuing to dip into the occasional contracting for extra cash or experiences when desired on the side. I'm part of the executive team now, so hopefully no more take-backsies. Your mileage may vary. Well, that was quite the roller coaster ride. I'm glad you found your way back to a job you enjoy and a salary you deserve, even if it took a few ups and downs to get there. It sounds like your former employer really missed out on a talented employee, but hey, their loss is your gain. Thanks for sharing your cautionary tale about counteroffers. I'm sure it will help others avoid some of the pitfalls you encountered. And the last story is just disguised as a mechanic. So this new service drive and attendant started. Not unusual, this dealership goes through a lot of employees. Not a lot is expected out of these attendants, but every once in a while they go, well, below and beyond your expectations. Let's call this new attendant Kevin. Kevin starts work and is explained the duties. Greet the customers as they drive up to the service reception bay, point them to their service advisor, bag the vehicle seat, and drive the car out. Wash the cars after service is done, weather permitting. Pretty simple but critical in the great churning system of dealership life. Turns out the whole system stutters if things go wrong. Techs coming up for work can't find keys. Whoops, keys are found in Kevin's pocket. He denied having them until physically searched. Techs can't find keys. They aren't in Kevin's pocket. There they are, on the dash of the car parked outside with the windows down. Customers are honking their horns. Kevin is busy on his phone. The only real encounter I personally had with Kevin, besides lost keys, was what convinced me he was truly worthy of the name Kevin. For context, all the techs have a uniform provided by the company. Shirts and pants with a badge just above the breast pocket with the dealership name. Techs are the only ones so dressed. Service advisors wear business casual. Parts have polo shirts. Sales wear suits and slimy smiles. I was doing the usual tech things like getting keys, taking cars, and returning fixed cars to Kevin's tender care for washing after service. I was wearing the tech uniform. I was telling service advisors what repairs the car I had just inspected needed. I was thanking them for upsells. Kevin watched all this over several days, and one day it dawned on him like a slow sunrise that I was actually a tech. He was so astonished by this revelation he had to blurt it out to me. I agreed with his started statement that I was indeed a tech, with a puzzled look. What else could I be? To this, he just looked me up and down, and then waved to my chest region that he didn't think I was actually a licensed mechanic until just that moment. Guys, the only thing different about me from every other guy working at this dealership is that I have a nice chest, which are appropriately bound in smothering sports bra and covered with the exact same kind of shirt the other male techs are wearing. Really unisex bag-like shirts that button all the way up. Needless to say, between the perpetually lost keys and the astonished sexism, I was not a fan of Kevin. Kevin was finally fired a week later after he put a customer's vehicle through the car wash with all the windows down, and the sunroof open. Wow, OP, it seems like Kevin was truly a jack of all trades. Losing keys, ignoring customers, and being surprised by your gender. But putting a car through the wash with the windows down and sunroof open? Now that's just next level incompetence. I hope you didn't have to deal with any more Kevins after that. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.